Welcome back to Solo Adventures! My name is Livy and I'm here yet again with another BGG Solitaire PnP contest review. So today the game we're going to be looking at is the last one that I'm going to be reviewing for this contest, and it is Math Dungeon, a dungeon crawler puzzler that involves solving various math equations. As usual, if you're not interested in watching me play this game, you can feel free to skip to the end. Otherwise, let's venture forth. Okay, so this game can run pretty long, but the actual mechanics are pretty simple. So basically the object of this game is we are trying to get each of these wizards to the exit of their respective dungeons. Now the wizards can only move in the same direction at the same time. So for example, if I want to move this one right, then this one also goes right. But the positions of the doors are different, so you're going to have to solve a logic puzzle in this case. So that's the basic gist behind this. So we would go both right, for example, and then we would maybe go right again, and there's a monster here which I'll explain. But as you can see, this one can go up, but this one cannot, so this one would just stay in the same place. So in terms of combat, in order to fight this type 1 type monster, both of the wizards need to be on the same coordinate at the same time. So both of them would need to be on C1. Otherwise, you cannot move any of your wizards onto the space because they have to be together. This type 2 monster here, on the other hand, you can only have one wizard on that coordinate at the same time. So if you have both wizards on that coordinate at the same time, then you also can't move there. If you move into these portal spaces, you just follow the arrow up or down to the next portal. And the only other thing to know about this map that's a bit tricky is these rooms here are locked, and in order to unlock this room and this room, both wizards need to be standing on the pressure plate at the same time. So on C3 over here and G1 over here. So this is part of the game. This is basically one half of it. This is the logic movement puzzle. The rest of the game involves math-related combat. So let's just try this first guy. So let's say Wizard A goes one right, and then B goes one right. Wizard A goes one right, B goes one right. So we're both on a type 1 monster. Now we have to fight. So we see the little number next to the monster and it says 1, so we're going to fight monster 1 and the result is 10. So the solution to the equation we're going to be making is going to be 10. So we roll our 5 dice, and then we take a look at the way the arrows are pointing. So since this one is going left to right, that means we go low to high. So we would organize the numbers 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we roll another set of 5. And then we go from high to low. So it would be 6, 5, 5, 2, 1. 6, 5, 5. 2, 1. All right, now our challenge is to attempt to add mathematical symbols to make this equation make sense. So I can add, I can subtract, I can divide, I can multiply, I can add, of course, but I'm trying to get the number 10. So let's just do some random math. Let's see, 1 plus 1 plus 2, minus 3, plus 4, minus 6, plus 5, minus 2, plus 1 equals. So what is that? And I believe we go from left to right by default, but if we want to, we can add parentheses to change the order of operations. So in this case, I would have So the answer to this is 8. If I feel like I can do better, then I can try again. But if I feel like I just want to give up and I don't want to do any more math with this monster, then the difference between these two numbers is 2, so I would lose 2 health. And that's how you fight this kind of monster. So if we were to fight then this next kind of monster, the type 2 type, so here the red wizard is on this one on the bottom, and we would see correlating to 1, we have a monster that we fight with runes basically. So here we roll our 5 dice again. And now what we have to do is we have to try to get them to line up in such a way that makes sense, using as many dice as possible. So the more dice we can use, the more damage that we're going to do to this monster. So in this case, we have to do 5 damage to it to knock it out. And every time we roll 5 dice, we have to mark off 1 time. So we've already marked off 1 time, and now we have to come up with an equation that somehow makes sense. And it will take a minimum of 3 dice to do any damage. So, for example, 1 times 2 equals 3. This would be an equation that is true, and it uses 3 dice. However, since it only uses 3 dice, it only does 1 damage. And we see the multipliers up here. So there are fire-resistant monsters and there are electricity-resistant monsters. And this one isn't resistant to either, so it just takes normal damage. But some of them take twice as much damage, and some of them don't take any damage. So if I'm satisfied here, and I just want to try again, then I would just roll again. And once again, try to find an equation that makes sense. The maximum damage we can do is 5, and that is only if we can line up all 5 of the dice so that they make sense. And in this case, you have to do the order of operations from left to right. You cannot add in parentheses to make it make sense. So yeah, you just continue on like that, and you can count your score. So you get plus 50 points for each of these monsters. And if you move into a square with a coin, you get an additional 100 points for each coin that you pick up. So if both of your wizards make it to the end, then you win, and then you can record your high score and see how you do against yourself in the future. So that is how you play this game. Let's talk about it. So as usual, I am going to start by talking about the build for this game. Now the build is very easy, it's just a couple of sheets of paper. I have them laminated, but you don't actually have to laminate anything. You can just print everything out on normal paper, and since you're just moving a token around and not actually marking them up, there's really no need to laminate unless you're an overachiever like me. So let's get into the positives about this game. Well, I think that the movement puzzle of the 2 wizards is kind of clever. The movement puzzle with the 2 wizards and how they each have to go in the same direction, but the layouts and the parts of the dungeon they're in are different. I do think that's clever, and I think that's kind of a fun puzzle. Okay, so I'm going to be really upfront with you here. This game is kind of painful to play, at least for me. The fact that the combats are just so long and drawn out, and you have, you know, at least 10 numbers in the type 1 combats to deal with, and you're just trying to add, you know, plus, minus, divide, multiply to get it to equal the equation at the end. I find it frankly annoying, because really all you can do is just trial and error. You can probably figure out a solution or one that's close to it with enough time, but you won't know until you try all of the different combinations. So you're doing very elementary level math, probably stuff that you did in maybe 2nd or 3rd grade, and you're doing it over and over again to try to get the right result, and that is just not fun. The combats that involve the grid are also just not very fun. These combats can drag on for a really long time, and if you're unlucky, if the dice that you roll just won't make an equation that works, you do minuscule amounts of damage. I feel like these enemies have a lot of hit points and they can take a long time to take down. In addition, you have a lot of hit points, so this game can potentially go on for quite a while. From a straight up gameplay perspective, if you take away all the math, this game is okay. It's fine. The puzzle of moving the two wizards through the dungeon is good, and I could see that being used to a good effect in another game. But the core gameplay of this game is, at least for me, painful. I'm gonna be honest with you here. I did not finish a full playthrough of this game. I simply could not make myself play this anymore. I was just so bored and so frustrated, and I frankly could not really see how anybody would really have fun with this game. That said, if you are really into arithmetic, and if you find elementary math really fun, I mean, maybe you'll enjoy this game. This game is not easy, but it is tedious. Seeing as how you can work on the equations for really as long as you want, and you can just keep on doing trial and error until you get the right result, you could potentially play for hours. Even if you like the math gameplay, this game will have limited replayability because the layout of the dungeon never changes and the locations of the monsters will always also stay the same. It gives me no pleasure to be really critical of an indie-developed game, but I really have to be honest here. This game is excruciatingly painful to play, and I really don't see there being any amount of fun in this. That is, unless you really like writing and solving simple math equations, and if that's the case, then this game might be for you. But I think for me and the vast majority of players that are out there, this game is not going to be much fun. So, thank you so much for watching. And if you've been watching from the beginning of this series, congratulations. You made it this far. Frankly, I'm surprised that I made it this far. This is a lot of videos, and I've done it in a pretty short period of time. That said, my work is not over. I will be posting a channel update probably sometime within the next couple of days, explaining where I intend to go with this channel and what changes will happen going forward, and the future of the BGG solo contest. So I do believe that voting is going to open up tomorrow at the time of filming this, October the 25th. And I encourage you to vote. Even if you can't play every game, I encourage you to look through the rules, maybe browse through some of my videos or through some of the videos that some other YouTubers have made about these games, and just get a feel for the wonderful variety and creativity that has come out of our gaming community. I want to give a big thank you to all of my patrons, and I also want to thank my husband for being so patient with me. I have been working practically non-stop for the last month, and I think we've both been losing a lot of sleep over this, and I really haven't been doing much of anything other than building, testing, and making these reviews, so I appreciate his tolerance for my insanity. Of course, if you have not already subscribed, then please do, and if you want to help support the channel, then you can check me out on Patreon. You could also join the Facebook group for all things solo gaming. We're really an excellent little community and we are growing by the day. So until next time, friends, happy adventuring.